Is Donald Trump and the administration starting to turn on farmers and ranchers? MAGA increasingly wants you to believe that what's happening to the farmers and the ranchers is their fault. I don't think going after the farmers and ranchers is going to go very well for Donald Trump. I've got a couple of examples of how they're starting to subtly and not so subtly sort of turn the story into, well, listen, it's not like the farmers and ranchers are running everything perfectly anyway. So we start with an interview on Fox Business with Republican Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, where she has some statements about, listen, there's frustration. We need balance. Balance, what's she talking about? Well, the hint is maybe we've got to look at what the farmers and ranchers have been doing as well. Take a listen to this. She does it subtly enough that you've got to listen carefully to understand the gist.
President Trump seeing a backlash from some farmers, meanwhile, over his plans to increase Argentinian beef imports to offset high prices at home. Congresswoman, you raised concerns about this plan at a congressional dinner series with both the U.S. ambassador to Argentina and the Argentine ambassador to the U.S. Tell us the issue here.
So I think Trump is trying to do what he can. He recognizes that the American people love to eat, free American beef, but that beef is expensive and it's only been growing in price. So I think what he's trying to do is strike a balance. He wants to make sure that we can get beef for affordable cost, and he's looking at ways to be able to do that. Right now, we take an amazing amount of Brazilian beef in. They are talking about increasing the amount of Argentinian beef, but at the same token, he's also doing what he can to lower the costs here, whether or not that's helping our cattle raisers with decreased costs in fertilizer, by doing amazing trade deals, by allowing grazing on federal land and federal properties. And now they're also talking about introducing a way to be able to package grown in the U.S. Beef labels to make sure that our beautiful homegrown U.S. beef gets the attention and gets the interest that it deserves. So I think he's trying to strike a balance, recognizing that cost and inflation is important, but also looking at ways of being able to decrease those costs here.
Decreasing costs is great. We have an issue with cost, right? I mean, he campaigned on we're going to lower grocery prices. He hasn't done it. The cost of that has gone up. But this is like Groundhog's Day with regard to the farmers and ranchers. Trump screwed the farmers and ranchers during his first term and had to bail them out. And then I saw one report that's 90%. I don't know that it's literally 90%, but a lot of the farmers and ranchers voted for Trump in 2024. And he's doing it again. And now they seem to be subtly shifting to, we need balance. We've got to do what's good for everybody. And cattle is the number one product in Beth Van Duyne's home state of Texas. It doesn't strike me as the right approach politically to start saying, well, the farmers and the ranchers. And it also doesn't strike me as the right thing to do from the standpoint of supporting American business, which they claim to do. We then heard from Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins is the agriculture secretary. And she suggested maybe the ranchers aren't so incident. And the phrase she used is, there's frustration on both sides. Take a listen to this.
The proposal that the president has been talking about to bring in some 80,000 metric tons of beef from Argentina to try to get prices down. There's obviously a shrunken cattle supply here, which is the reason why prices here are going up. But a lot of these ranchers are feeling betrayed. Destiny Weeks, an Oklahoma rancher, said this: it feels like a slap in the face to rural America. It makes you feel invisible and overlooked. And Justin Tappers, the president of the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, said a deal of this magnitude with Argentina would undercut the very foundation of our cattle industry. What do you say to cattle producers in this country?
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration on both sides. This president has made it very, very clear that his promise to bring the cost of living, cost of goods down, beef continues to go up. But then you marry that with you said it, John, we've got the lowest herd in 75 years. And there's a lot of reasons for that: drought, the screw room at the border, we've had to close the ports, etc. But listen, those goals are not mutually exclusive. And just last week, we released a 19-point plan on how we rebuild the herd and what needs to happen to do that. The Argentina comment right now, we consume 12 million metric tons of beef every single year in America. 2 million of that 12 million we have long imported. So the idea of importing a little bit more Argentinian beef from about 20,000 metric tons to 40,000 or maybe 60,000 out of the total 12 million will not do anything to compromise our ability to rebuild that cattle herd. For anyone to say, and again, knowing the frustration that's there, but there has been no one who has been more resolute, who has been more passionate about supporting rural America.
Yeah. Trump's been the best. Now, here's the problem with all of this. She's suggesting that the importing of Argentinian beef is going to help with the price issue. It doesn't really seem that that's the case, because the importing of Argentinian beef, if anything, is just going to create competition with American ranchers. But there is not really reason to believe, especially if it's the degree to which Brooke Rollins says it is, some relatively small percentage, that it's actually going to change the pricing issue. And in fact, it's going to undercut farmers and ranchers and probably hurt them in terms of their ability to even keep their businesses going. So there's two sides to this. One is the slow introduction of, listen, there's frustration on all sides. The farmers and ranchers aren't just innocent victims needing to be saved. We've got to do what's good for the American people. Well, if Trump had been upfront when he promised to lower grocery prices by saying, I've got a way to lower grocery prices, and it's going to be to hurt American farmers and ranchers, I don't know how many would have gone for it. It just so happens that he's hurting farmers and ranchers without even pushing prices down. But there's a second sort of aspect to this. And the second aspect to it is that the inability to predict where things are going to be in a week or in 2 weeks or in a month or a few months is terrible for all businesses, and farmers and ranchers are part of that. A couple of examples as to the level of uncertainty. If you look on Kalshi, it's like betting markets for just about anything. On the question of will the Supreme Court rule in favor of Trump's tariffs, 40% believe the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the tariffs, meaning roughly 60% believe that they will not. It's close to 50-50. People, even in the betting markets, people have no idea. Are these tariffs legal or aren't they? Are they staying or are they going? Another example from Kalshi, again, this is another betting market. What will the U.S. tariff rate on China be on January 1st of 2026? 24% believe it'll be between 20 and 30%. 38% it'll be between 30 and 40%. 19% believe it's going to be above 60%. And then you've got a bunch of other numbers kind of filling in between. People have no idea what is going to happen. And no idea what's going to happen is bad for business. It's bad for economies. The uncertainty is a major problem. It wouldn't shock me if it goes from we're going to do right by the farmers and ranchers to the farmers and ranchers are the problem, and they're why I have no choice but to patriotically go to other countries. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video. And if you like our content, make sure to subscribe so YouTube puts our videos in your feed, and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple.